Welcome to Esoterisphere. For nearly 2,000 years, Judas Iscariot has been the ultimate traitor. The disciple who handed Jesus over to be crucified for 30 pieces of silver has stood as a symbol of betrayal, greed, and spiritual failure. But what if we've been reading it all wrong? What if Judas wasn't the villain at all? In 2006, a lost ancient text surfaced, hidden in the Egyptian desert for over 1,700 years. It's called the Gospel of Judas, and in its pages, Judas isn't the betrayer. He's the only disciple who truly understands Jesus. This is Esoterisphere, and today we're unpacking the Gospel of Judas. Where it came from, what it says, and what it means for how we see one of history's most reviled figures. Let's start with the basics. The Gospel of Judas is a Gnostic text, probably written in the mid-2nd century CE. It survives in a single known copy, a Coptic language papyrus called Codex Chakos, likely translated from a Greek original. And unlike the canonical Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, this one didn't make it into the Bible. In fact, it was condemned almost as soon as it appeared. Around the year 180, Irenaeus of Lyon, an early church father and heresy hunter, wrote, "They declare that Judas the traitor, alone, knowing the truth as no others did, accomplished the mystery of the betrayal." He was referencing the Gospel of Judas, already in circulation and already controversial. But what exactly is in this text that made it so heretical? The Gospel opens with a bold claim. The secret account of the revelation that Jesus spoke in conversation with Judas Iscariot during a week, 3 days before he celebrated Passover. Right away, we're dealing with something different. This isn't a narrative of Jesus' life. It's a secret conversation. A transmission of hidden knowledge, a classic Gnostic hallmark. In this version of the story, Jesus laughs at the other disciples, calling them ignorant and unable to grasp the truth. They focus on external rituals and blood sacrifices, while Jesus tries to teach a more mystical, spiritual message. But Judas? Judas is the only one who listens. The only one who can stand before Jesus and receive the true teaching. Jesus says to him, "You will exceed all of them. For you will sacrifice the man that clothes me." It's a cryptic line, but it reveals a radical reinterpretation. In this gospel, Judas isn't betraying Jesus out of malice or greed. He's doing what Jesus asks him to do. He's helping to liberate the divine spirit from the prison of flesh, the man that clothes me. In other words, Judas enables the crucifixion not to kill Jesus, but to free him. In Gnostic thought, the material body is a kind of cage. Death is not the end, it's the return of spirit to its divine source. This flips the entire betrayal narrative on its head. Of course, this version of Judas is wildly out of step with the canonical Gospels. In the Bible, Judas acts deceitfully, is overtaken by Satan, and in some versions, dies in guilt and disgrace. But the Gospel of Judas rewrites all of that. He doesn't act out of evil, he acts out of understanding. He's the only one who sees the big picture. And he suffers for it. This fits right into the Gnostic tradition, where salvation doesn't come through blind faith or obedience, but through gnosis, knowledge of the divine truths hidden beneath the surface. So where did this text come from? Scholars believe the Gospel of Judas was written by a Scythian Gnostic group in the mid-2nd century. This was a time of intense theological diversity, when many Christian sects were still battling for legitimacy. The early Orthodox Church, what would eventually become Catholicism, was trying to draw clear lines. Which books were canon? Which teachings were correct? Who had the authority to decide? The Gospel of Judas represented a threat to all of that. Not just because it defended Judas, but because it challenged the entire sacrificial model of salvation. In this version, Jesus doesn't die for our sins. He dies because it's the only way to escape the material world, and Judas is the one who makes it possible. That kind of theology would have been radioactive to the emerging church. And so, like many Gnostic texts, it was branded heresy and disappeared until a dusty codex was found in Egypt in the 1970s, traded on the antiquities black market, mishandled, and nearly destroyed. It wasn't until 2006, after years of restoration and translation, that the public finally read the full text. So what does it all mean? Was Judas actually a hero? Well, it depends on your framework. To the early church, the answer was clear: no. He was a traitor, plain and simple. But in the Gospel of Judas, we're asked to reconsider, what if spiritual truth means going beyond appearances? What if sacrifice isn't about blood atonement, but about letting go of the false self? And what if the villain understood the plan better than anyone else? Maybe Judas wasn't the betrayer. Maybe he was the only one who got it. Follow Esoterisphere for more deep dives into ancient texts, forbidden gospels, and the esoteric side of early Christianity. Truth doesn't always come from the victors. Sometimes it's buried with the heretics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. Don't forget to tap that notification bell to be notified whenever a new video drops. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, let us know in the comments. Brightest of blessings to you all.